that you demand the best and make no allowances for error. I was afraid I might disappoint you, so I found a good hiding place and secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound down to the last cent. The master was furious. That's a terrible way to live. It's criminal to live cautiously like that. If you knew I was after the best, why did you do less than the best? The least you could have done would have been to invest the sum with the bankers, where at least I would have gotten a little interest. Take the 1,000 and give it to the one who risked the most, and get rid of this play it safe servant who won't go out on a limb. Throw him out into utter darkness. The gospel of the Lord. The Gospel of Matthew is full of parables, teaching that early church of very few believers how to live in a very hostile world, a world that's trying to tear that community apart. Many had been excommunicated from the synagogue. Others had been abandoned by their families for fear of what the Roman government would do. Those early believers were struggling just to survive in a very dark time. And along the way, Jesus tells that community and teaches them what the kingdom of God would be like, and he does it by using parables. Today's parable is one of them. But it's sort of unsettling. In the original version, it says, "For all those that have, more will be given. They will have an abundance." And then there's the last sentence. "To those who have, more will be given. From those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away." And that's why I read this. Because the original version sort of says, the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. And I say, really? Is that really what Jesus is trying to communicate? Is that what he's trying to tell that early church? What does it tell us about being generous and thankful people? I like to turn the parable. I think it says and shows us how we see God, how we see ourselves compared to others, sort of like that third servant. So let's look at today's parable in a different light. Maybe it really isn't about money or ability. Maybe it's about something even more important. Maybe it's about trust and faith and generosity. It's about a man going off on a trip, and while he's gone, he needs his property and his house cared for, so he calls his 3 servants together. The first one is given $5,000. The second one is given $2,000. And the third one is $1,000. Each one according to their ability. $1,000, even today, but especially then, was a whole heap of money. It wasn't little money. The master had given him a lot. But he digs the hole and he buries it. Let me hide this. So that when the master returned, the first 2 servants were praised. "Well done, good and faithful servants. Today you will now become my partner." But the third servant was afraid. He called his master a harsh man who hated carelessness, so hid his money. If the master in the story is telling us about God, either Jesus is telling us that God is a harsh and selfish man, which seems highly unlikely, or that third servant had a very skewed picture of who God was. So what was Jesus really trying to teach? maybe, just maybe, he told the parable to help us think about how we see God, how we see ourselves, and how we compare ourselves to what others have. We all have been blessed with something, but how often look at that one, and look at that one, and look, I've got nothing, look at that one. And that's sort of like that third servant. All three servants were given a lot of responsibility, a lot of money, even the third one, but their perspective is totally different. The first two were so thankful for what they had been given, and therefore, in their thankfulness, they reached out with generosity to others, and they were blessed with a partnership. And I think they used that money and they're reaching out for the good of the community, because in those days, people didn't